In this episode, once again, we speak to the amazing Charles Zerafa. Charles is a finance broker, business and corporate finance specialist. With over 25 years of experience in business and corporate banking, Charles Zerafa is a seasoned finance broker renowned for his ability to tailor finance solutions to meet the unique needs of each client. And in today's episode, we're speaking to Charles about how to strategically scale up your business. Let's find out. Welcome. This is Gull, your money mindset expert. And today I'm so excited. We have once again the amazing Charles Zerafa. Welcome, Charles.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you so much for joining us, Charles. Charles, we had such a fantastic conversation with you about the future, so we had to tell you about today. And once again, everyone's heard your intro. They know how fabulous you are, but please, in your own words, tell everybody what it is that you do.
Okay, I'm a business finance manager in Australia. We do business finance from 1 to 50 million for businesses, and we help them grow, expand, and finance their goals and business expansions.
Wonderful. So this leads us on to today's topic, which is how to strategically scale up your business. So run me through this process, and Charles, how would one, if someone's operating at, say, for example, between the 2 to 3 million mark, if they want to expand and now scale up their business to say 5 million, so they want to effectively almost double or more than double their business, what's the steps? What would they do, and how would they ask for a loan? What would they, how would they approach the banks for that?
Yeah, it's fairly much the same in any country. You need to prepare your financials. You need to show, the way I describe it to customers almost every day is you need to show us your story in numbers. So it's if you've won a new contract and you're going to scale because you need more money because you've just won a new contract and you need money for new machinery or for more staff or to get into a new premises, you need to show what the performance is going to look like once you're in that position. So once you obtain that finance and you obtain that machinery or whatever the finance purpose is, what your projected figures are going to look like. Because most banks can actually use that as a guide to say, well, you're buying this asset, it's going to generate you money. So how is your income going to improve once we give you this money? Okay. So it's showing them in numbers how that investment, the money from the banks are investments into your business. So how that's going to actually turn into increased profits.
Well, when you're either starting off a business, or if you are, as in my case, I bought a business I was operating for 30 years. I know that I need to wait at least 12 months before I can apply for a decent loan. Otherwise, I can apply to the sharks all year long, but I don't really want that. But if I wanted to really scale up and go to high street banks or decent banks with good interest rates, I have to wait 12 months. But what would I need to show after 12 months? That I've run this business decently for the last 12 months, and now I'm looking to really scale up with marketing, whatever. So talk me through the journey. So how would you advise someone like me who's got a business and who's run it successfully for 12 months, but it's been very much, unstable. It hasn't increased or hasn't gone down, but it's been stable. What do I need to show, and how would I double the business in the next 12 months? But obviously for that, I need to invest some money in the business, which will be maybe for machinery, maybe for marketing, most likely for labor, because we're manufacturing, so we'll need to hire more staff. Talk me through, how would I do that?
I work closely with accountants, so I listen to your story. I'd say, please tell me how we're going to get to your goal, and what do you need to do it? How do we got to cost that out too, and say, can you show me how much that's going to cost you, this expansion that you're going to go through? What have you put in place? And I really go through a very long series of questions to understand every facet of what you've done to position the business for that growth. How much planning have you done? How much do you have quotes on what the purchases are going to be? And I work with, if you haven't put it on paper yet, I'll help you put it on paper, or work with your accountant as well, and just say, I sort of guide the clients and the discussion with the accountant to say, these are all the things that, this is the plan, this is how you're going to get to that next step in your journey. I need the projections to reflect all of the costs and capture all the income. And we can't be too conservative, but you can't be too optimistic either if it's unrealistic. So I try to say to the clients, be as accurate as possible and give us the words to match the figures. So understand where you're going to have where you've been in the last 12 months, and show, even if it doesn't matter how big the step up is, you just got to be able to quantify it and describe how you're going to do that and who's going to help you as well, is a really big thing. So what support team have you got in place that's going to help you execute that? Because if you're going to go that big, you need key people to help you achieve that. And more often the banks want to know who your not advisory team, but who your key people are in the business that's going to help you achieve those goals.
So as you're saying this, I'm analyzing my team and I'm thinking about it. So if my bank manager, by the way, so if I have my, we've got a old standing relationship prior to me joining the company, or buying the company rather. We've had a relationship with the bank, and the bank is they're familiar with the company, but I've joined, so it's almost like starting this relationship from scratch because I'm new. So it's like, okay, how is Gull going to do this, and how is she different, and what does she have? And in the past, it's the business has just trucked along. It hasn't gone up or down. It's just been there. And now since I've joined, it's still stable. So I'm just thinking, what's the question my bank manager would ask me? So, Gull, what do you want to do? Okay, I want to double the business. How do you want to do it? Well, I've got marketing, in place. I've got marketing executive, and I can go through all the different ways I'm looking to generate leads. So, new businesses we can go in and speak to. And so that would be, so if I talk way through there, I'll be talking about my marketing plan first. Okay, this is how I'm going to generate new leads. This is our stable of clients. These are people we already get business for. So we're doing X, Y, Z. I want to double the business. And what we're going to do is, this is the marketing plan. I have this in-house. We've got the social media executive. We've got this new person who's doing BDM, a business development manager, who's going to be going out into businesses. We've got this Google ads running. We've got X, Y, Z. All the marketing plan I can sort of highlight and say, we're generating this amount of leads. And now to convert them into businesses, we have, this is our sales team in terms of who do the quotes. This is a whole department, which you've got three members in there at the moment, apart from the BDM. So that's what I will do. That's the first part of the conversation will be, how am I going to generate new business? Is that right? So that's the first part, to say the marketing plan.
Yes.
And how we're going to in terms of how
where's the money that you're asking from the bank going to be applied to in your business to help you achieve that goal? So if yours is all in marketing, it's like, so it's where is that money being spent in marketing? Like, is it on staff or is it on advertising? What's the breakup? Just give them a sense and a feel for where that money is going to go to. You don't have to be exact, but give them a good idea of where the cash is going to, and show the value that's going to, how that's going to lead to a better funnel and more customers, and even the price. Sometimes I even say, give them the average price per customer too. So every time you make a sale and you want to increase their value of their sale as well. So for every customer that I get, they're worth X amount of dollars for us on average, and then use that to demonstrate how you're going to improve your profitability from that. Okay. So you've got to make the links from, I'm borrowing money here, I'm going to apply it in this areas in my business. This is how it's going to generate more income, and this is the end. These are the increased in expenses I'm going to generate from the expansion, and then what's the end profit going to look like? Okay, and they will use that profit line to help service that loan that you're applying for.
I mean, because I've had to learn a whole different new area of business, because this is brick and mortar. I'm used to the online, which is, we have no overhead. So as you expand, the profit goes through the roof. The difference I found with the brick and mortar business is, you have a baseline, which you don't make a profit until you hit that baseline. That break-even point is there, which I've never had before. It was like, my break-even before was like, maybe a few £100 or maybe 1,000. The rest is all profit there onwards. It's all a bit about ads and getting the ads and conversion, and that's it. So it was a completely different ballgame. Whereas this business, it's about, okay, we have to make this because the wages are going to go, the rent is going to go, the rates and everything else is going to go, regardless of we make nothing, right? So, that has to be made first. But that also means, once we've covered that, the next bit up is all profit. So we can, if we make
Correct.
5,000 or 10,000 or 100,000, 200,000, that's all profit relatively, obviously, depending, you know, if you need extra staff for it or a little bit extra electricity. But those extra costs are nominal compared to the base cost, because that's really huge. And so that getting your head around there, I think, is important for entrepreneurs. I think this is where most people fail. They don't know their break-even point. And so the first thing I need to know is my break-even point. What do I need to make in order to break even, and be very honest and realistic about it? And then if I want to expand and double my revenue, that doesn't necessarily mean double my profit. It probably, in my case, will probably triple my profit, because I will make sure that the base is already hit.
That's right.
That means the profitability is not going to go up by 50%. It'll probably go up by 100%, because it's just all extra profit. And the majority of the costs, which is the rent, the rates, all the other malarkey, and the wages, that's already taken care in the base. So that's, I think, getting your head around that comment and at that point is really, really important for most entrepreneurs. And I think most people fail that point initially, because they think,
yes, and that's why I say the accountant is a really key person in your business, or whether it be you're an internal accountant or your external accountant, and not just getting him to do once a year your financials. You really want someone that's going to add some value to your business. And I always keep on saying, it doesn't matter how much you're turning over. You should, even if you're not good at numbers, you should at least have someone that can produce the numbers for you. So you be the CEO of your own company, doesn't matter how big it is, and say, I need someone to produce this for me and show me on paper these figures. Because you need to know, as a business owner, what is your break-even point? How much do you need to make each month to keep the doors open and pay the bills? Yeah. So that break-even point's a good one. But for every industry, there's a different set of KPIs, key performance indicators that you need to measure. And I really encourage people to do a business plan and do some projections every year, regardless of if you're borrowing or not, and try to predict where your business is going and learn how to read the numbers and learn how to track your performance every month by month. And you'll learn more about your business by doing that. And it's actually an education piece as well. It's not just you might get it wrong, or you might predict it, but understanding why it's wrong helps you understand your own business better. Does that make sense?
It does, 100%. And so I think this is important when you're not just looking to just bring more businesses. You're actually thinking strategically. You're thinking, all right, so I want to double my revenue, but I also want to increase my profitability by, say, 20% or 30% or 40%, whatever have you. This is my break-even point. This is where we are now. If we have an additional sales rep, if we have additional marketing strategy, or tool like Facebook or Google ads or YouTube ads or whatever, or the array of LinkedIn ads as well, or whole array of them. If we generate 100 extra leads a month, and they come, 10% of that becomes sales, and our average client is about $10,000 dollars or something along those lines, that's additional 100,000 revenue, and you're literally planning out like that. It most likely won't go that way, by the way. So let's be clear about it. But we have some kind of plan that we're working towards, and then as we implement that plan, the marketing may need more money, there may be less money, and it may not work out at all. So you have to go do
the conversion is the big key to that sort of business.
Yeah.
So you can attract clients, but it's actually converting them to a sale. You're going to generate inquiries, but for the KPI you want to measure is what's your conversion rate.
Yeah.
So I'm getting my ads out there, and it doesn't matter how many people call you, how many are you actually converting to sales? Yeah. So that's a huge one. If you track your conversion rates you'll see a pattern, and then you'll go, why aren't I converting? And then you'll go deeper into saying, well, what are the scripts that my staff are saying to the customers? What can I do differently, or how are we positioning our product right? Why? And then do surveys as well, like do customer surveys with the people that didn't go ahead, and just say, oh, can I just ask why you didn't go ahead? We're just trying to learn as a business. We're just trying to learn and get better at what we do. Do you mind if we ask you a few questions and get someone to actually do research into why they didn't buy it? That might actually lead you down another path and say, I need to refine my sales skills. We need to add more value, and we need to listen to our customers if we want to convert more. And you'll be amazing at that. at what difference that makes, because I've had a client literally do that. They were an automated window and door manufacturer, and they had an amazing quoting system where they quoted. You could literally jump onto an IT system and an iPad and get a quote instantly, but they were generating like millions of dollars worth of quotes, but only converting a small amount. And they went down that similar process and uncovered that the people didn't understand. There was lots of reasons why they didn't go ahead, and they basically said, "Well, they had to train their staff to explain the whole thing better, because the customers just didn't understand the process, it was really critical in helping them increase that conversion rate, and their business is just completely different today than what it was back then."
Fabulous, wonderful. So let's talk things through them. So we start off with looking at where your business are. Look at the KPIs you want to measure, and what are the KPIs you want to improve with this injection of cash. So I think that's the key starting point. Then you need to build a story, a narrative around those KPIs, around those numbers, and really figure out, okay, I want to borrow, say, £1 million or $1 million. And that $1 million is going to go towards, 20% is going to go to hiring additional staff on for example, the shop floor to build over the course of the year, to build the additional materials and components. Another 10% is going to go, or 20% is going to go on marketing, both for hiring additional staff as well as Google ads and so forth. And then I suppose there needs to be, in our case would be, we need to have 30-40% set in the bank as reserves for buying materials, because we do manufacture, so we have to buy steel, so we have to buy materials. So those kind of numbers you start. I haven't even made a plan, this is all in my head, and I'm already thinking, okay, so I would have to show the money that I'm going to borrow is going to be allocated here, and this is my reserve kept for buying material ongoing as we produce. And there can always be delay in getting payments through, so we have to make sure there's a certain amount of cash in the bank to be able to pay our suppliers while we're tracing up our clients, normal malarkey. And then when you go with this story, this presentation to a bank, they can then say, yeah, you know what you're talking about, you know what you want.
That's right.
Now,
that's why I say the accountant's the key, because you've got to put that story in words, but also in numbers. They want to see the cash flow projection. They want to know how much your profitability is going to improve. So you got to basically say, here's my story and here's what I'm going to do with all this money, and then show them, and that they should be able to look at your at those expense lines in your profit and loss and go, yes, I can follow that. That makes sense to the story. The story that you're telling me is matching up with the figures that I'm looking at in front of me. So I can rely upon these numbers now because they match up with what you're telling me.
Absolutely. Okay. So what would be, okay, and what else, how else can one enhance their application for, for scaling up? And would you think that banks are the only place to go for loans, or would you recommend private equity in your experience, or would you recommend, some other form of finance to be raised?
I'm a big believer in the cheapest form of cash. So sometimes the best form of cash is actually your own cash. It's like, I'm going to save up money as a business and I'm going to reinvest those profits to get to a certain point. So when I do go for finance, I can actually go for a bigger lot of finance. So I want to, sometimes, like for yourself, if you said, I know you might have a really big plan, and I don't know, you've told me a little bit about what that is, but I'd be saying to you, if you had just invested a tenth of that, can you prove that spending, for every $10,000 you spend in marketing, that you're going to increase your profits by this much? Have you tested that? I'll be asking those sort of questions and saying, do you know that that putting this much money into that strategy is actually going to make you profitable? Have you tested it? Have you market tested it with your own money and with your own profits? So no, bank funds is a cheap form of funds. In reinvesting your own cash is a good thing to do. Sometimes, how can I say? Sometimes if you're going to take out more expensive kind of unsecured lending, it's okay if you know how to manage it. and you don't just get yourself into debt for the sake of debt. So if you understand that you're taking a loan out at, say, double the rate of a bank, whatever that bank rate is, you've got to know your profit margins. So you basically, if you're going to invest, tell me what's the business lending rates around UK at the moment, just for example?
They're probably around about the 8-10% mark. The
8 to 10. Okay.
Banks are between 8 to 10. Yeah.
So if you went to another unsecured financier outside of the bank and got something for the 18%, 20% around that, they probably
18,
charge.
20, 18 to
20.
So
you got to make sure that your return on that cash is actually much greater than that, just to break even.
Mm.
So there's nothing wrong with some businesses are profitable enough that they can carry that extra cost because they know we make 50% margin. But a very low margin business taking out 20% finance is a bad thing.
It's a suicide,
isn't it?
Yeah.
So you've got to make calculated decisions. Sometimes we're seeing a lot of partnerships these days, and there's sometimes private agreements as well. It's like there's investors out. I'm not sure about the UK, but in Australia, sometimes a business or an accountancy firm, or they'll find an investor that will say, "I'll give you a certain amount of money for a certain amount in return," and it's cheaper than those unsecured lenders at 20%. And it's just a loan agreement. Sometimes it's like a loan agreement, and there's other kinds of capital that you can get out there, but it comes at a cost sometimes. So you can other ways of raising money that is very interesting that I wouldn't mind sharing with your audience is in getting, if you've got a lot of staff and you've got some key staff. Some really interesting ways of raising capital is actually selling small shareholdings in your business to those key staff members, and not just giving them a pay bonus for reaching target. If they're critical to the performance of your business, we've seen a lot of businesses do very well by offering a small shareholding, saying we're going to give you a 10% share in exchange for X amount of dollars. Do you want to buy into this business long term? Do you believe in where we're going? Can you see yourself here for 20 years? Do you want to buy? Do you want to come into it and use those profits to increase your shareholdings over time? There's some really creative ways that people are trying to raise money, and you really need to depend. There's lots of variables. Depends on the industry type, how big you are. But I'd reach out to your advisors, accountants, and explore what options are available to you, because there are more options than just the banks for sure, and unsecured lending. There could potentially be equity partners and capitals investors that might be interested, or teaming up with a competitor to buy part of your business as well, with a takeover in mind and down the track. There's I've seen lots of different strategies work. So.
That's amazing. Okay, wonderful. So now let's wrap this up. Let's, if you can summarize what we just discussed in this particular episode, and answer that question: how to strategically scale up your business in a quick, brief outline.
Understand your numbers. Be able to put down your proposition to a financier in advance. Don't just walk in the door and ask for the finance. I'd be preparing my story and the numbers to match up with what I want to achieve. So like we said earlier, what are you going to do with that money, and how is it going to improve your profits? So when the banks have got, or the financiers have got questions for you, you know how to answer them. And you can actually show them through your paperwork what it looks like. And the other part is getting the financier to come into your business, show them around, and actually explain what you're doing. I don't know if that's possible with every financier, but when they are able to do that, that gives you a much better result, because they can literally see your passion, how good your business is, and that they often are your advocates when they go to their credit team looking for approval for that finance. So I think that's also a critical component.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Well, on that note, we're going to wrap this up. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your advice today with us, Charles. Charles, tell us, how can we connect with you? Where can we find you on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on charleszerafa.com.au, or you can find me on LinkedIn. And I've also got a company page on LinkedIn, Integrity Finance Australia Business and Corporate Finance Division.
Wonderful. Now, if you're listening to us on the podcast, the links for Charles will be in the show notes. And if you're watching us on YouTube, then down below in the description section, we'll have the links for Charles too. Do check him out, especially if in Australia, and see how he can help you build up your business. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Charles. It's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. It's been wonderful.
Thank you for listening to me and Charles today on Money Mindset with Gull Khan. I will be back on Money Talkies with another amazing guest, finding out how you and I can build a better business. Until the next time we meet, this is Gull Khan signing off. Take care and bye for now.